Welcome back, America. This is the day the music died. Ritchie Valens went down in a plane in 1959, I think, along with the Big Bopper and others. Something Olivia Beavers, Wall Street Journal reporter, probably doesn't know. Did you know that, Olivia?
No, but I thought, what a somber way to start my segment with you.
I know.
The day the music
we always
died.
do our rock and roll tributes on the second segment. Olivia, I very rarely give you the questions in advance, but these were tricky questions, so I did. I'm just wondering, we're down to a 2-vote margin in the House because Matt Gaetz quit, Michael Waltz went to the White House, and Elise Stefanik's going to the UN. When are the special elections to fill those 3 seats?
So the special general election for Florida with Gaetz and Waltz's seat will be April 1st, which is actually April Fool's Day. And they, in that case, they're both red seats. They're expected to stay red for the most part, unless there is, as some Democrats have been quoted as saying, some sort of small or large miracle, depending on which district. But you have Jimmy Patronis and Randy Fine, who won those. It's a little bit more complicated for Stefanik's seat. After she resigns, the governor has to declare a special election within 10 days. And then the election must take place 80 to 90 days after that declaration. But there's been some interesting reporting happening on the local level where you have local Democrats who are trying to discuss ways to basically push that deadline back, maybe into June. And the governor's office is not dismissing that. They're arguing it would help with turnout and be more cost effective. So there's probably some political scheming also happening there, because I'm sure if it was in reverse with Democrats, you might not actually be seeing that kind of discussion taking place. But that is underway for Stefanik's office.
But it's a red district, right? Eventually it will come back. Okay. The reason I bring it up is the Republicans may need all 5 seats filled in order to push a budget reconciliation package through, depending on what's in it and who doesn't like it. The House Republican retreat you went down to, what was the discussion there about one big beautiful bill versus 2, and what goes in it?
So there still seems to be a divide in the party. House Republicans, especially Jason Smith, who's the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, he's pushing one bill. His argument is basically if there's 2 bills, he doesn't think that they can get Trump's tax cuts passed through the House with a narrow majority, even if they gain those seats. And so he wants to package energy, border, Trump's tax cuts all in one, quote, big, beautiful bill. But when Trump was down there, he basically publicly said, I don't care if it's 1 bill or 2. I just want it to get done. And so we were, as reporters chasing after different Republican members being like, did that kind of undermine your push for a 1 big bill? And they go, no, we're still standing by this. We still want 1 bill. But that doesn't mean that they might ultimately get jammed by the Senate, which is a fear in the House that if they can't come up with a bill that they all agree on, which you're having this discussion about how many cuts, how little cuts, then they might end up having to sort of eat the Senate plan. And there's supposed to be a budget hearing this week, but it hasn't been scheduled. And it's sort of coming in a sign that Republicans on that committee and more broadly just can't seem to figure out where their sweet spot is in terms of cuts.
Now, I always refer to it as the budget reconciliation process because it's more than 1 bill. First step, you got to get a budget. Second step, it's got to get through both houses and be agreed upon. And then reconciliation bills are not guaranteed, but they only require a simple majority in the Senate. So the first big deal is the budget. Who chairs budget in the House? I know Jason Crow Jason Smith is chair of Ways and Means. That's the tax committee. But who runs budget?
Yep. So you have Jody Arrington, who's the chairman of the budget committee. And if you talk to his colleagues, most of them will say that he has perhaps the hardest job next to Mike Johnson because you have some Republicans on the committee who are pushing to not even just have a deficit neutral bill, but one that would even take care of the interest that's happening. And so that's a major haul. And some of the Republicans I talked to are doubtful that there's even the math there unless you start talking about Social Security, talking about all these going too intensely into Medicare and Medicaid, which Trump does not want to touch, for the most part. And so they're trying to figure out where the numbers are in a realistic way. You have conservatives, definitely, the Chip Roys saying they want even more intense cuts. And then you have centrists on the other hand, more like the Don Bacon types, who are warning that too severe of cuts would hurt them in terms of keeping their seat and when they run for re-election and keeping the House majority.
Now, the solution that fixes everything is to raise more revenue and to agree on a deficit number. The last time they did reconciliation, I think Pat Toomey and his counterpart in the House said, okay, we'll do $1.5 trillion in red ink over 10 years. And that's a budget. They can do that again. They can do $3.5 trillion in red ink if they want. They can do whatever they want, but the more revenue you bring in, that's why I want the one-time window on the conversion of Roth and 401 the conversion of IRA and 401ks to Roth IRAs to be the present discounted value of whatever tax revenue they bring in over the next 40 years. So they have a big pile of money. Did any of this revenue idea get put on the table? We don't want tax hikes, but you can tax gambling and dope. There's a lot you can tax that we don't tax at the federal level.
The last time I was on your show, you asked me if that was part of the conversation, and I was like, did I just not hear about it? So I went back and I asked some Republicans whether there was, as you said, some sort of discussion about vice tax, and the answer was no, that's not really part of the dialogue. They said they actually had seen it. Some of the people I talked to said they had seen it coming from you first versus like it actually being within the ethers. So I don't know that that's actually active, but they are aware that you have put it forward.
Well, Jason and I talked about it on air, so I just know that they're stuck on revenue and they're stuck with the Freedom Caucus, and they've got to get a plan or there's not going to be anything, right?
Oh, yeah, they need a plan. And they set probably too much of an aggressive plan of thinking that they could have this wrapped up by the end of February, which already we're seeing probably signs of a delay if they can't even have their budget meeting for the blueprint wrapped up or even scheduled for this week. So if that starts happening, I'm sure even once a plan is out there, you're going to see what we typically see for something so big like this, which is once it's public, you're going to start hearing from the base, you're going to start hearing from the Freedom Caucus, you're going to start hearing from all these different entities in the party, and it might mean that they have to go back to the drawing board, or there's some closed door, backdoor negotiations of saying, well, I want this, but we can give on this, and that's going to take time.
So, Olivia, just to put a dot on it, April 1, yeah. 2 more Republicans come to Congress. Third new Republican doesn't show up for time certain, right?
We don't know about when Stefanik's part of that would rely on when she resigns and if the local Democrats are able to push it back.
Okay. Always a good thing to talk to Olivia Beavers. Follow her on X at Olivia_Beavers. She's with the Wall Street Journal, and I appreciate her every single Monday. Thank you, America.